Welcome. Today I would like to show you how to create this point of sale display using Studio Visualizer, the plugin to Illustrator from ESKO. So you have shared with us some graphic files and some various different files that you have sent us, which I can see here supplied. What I would like first to show you is how to get the content of these files, assess it within Adobe Illustrator, and then eventually get to clean those files and make them ready so that we can create some 3D out of them using Studio. So the file I'm going to be using for this purpose is the header of the point of sale display, this header that we can see there at the top. Okay. So what I have done here, I have located it on the files that have been supplied. It's been supplied as a PDF, as you can see, and it's a PDF which comes directly from the creative agency. And I have also selected here the die line of the same file in order to use it in order to use the die line in order to create the folds out of it. This is because sometimes the die lines can be difficult to extract from a graphic design file, so it might actually be easier if you can find the separated file, or even better, the ArtioSCAD file directly. Okay, so this is what I will do, and I have already opened Illustrator, as you can see here. And so I have my graphic file, which, as you can see, if I click on, there is basically hundreds of different objects into those different layers. And then if I try to isolate something or to remove another, then it actually can be quite cumbersome and complicated. So what I suggest to do is to try to extract all of the elements which are not part of the graphics. So typically everything which is part of the grids, and separate them in order to isolate them. On a different action, what I will do here is I will actually take the grid, which is the file that I've just opened. If you can't see, you will, if I zoom here, you will see that it is actually a structural design file here. And what I will do with this structural file is I will also clean it, and I will use the function which is added within Studio, which you can see here, the little fold buttons, in order to create some cut lines and some crease lines. And once I have done this, I will actually check the design and fold it. Okay. So this is what we're going to do now. I will actually maybe do this in silence in order to be able to speed up the video if you need to. These two lines here are purely for folding into the shipment. So I'm not going to need them for the renders, so I will simply delete them. So as you can see, I have now converted all the outlines as cut lines, and the fold lines in red here as crease lines. Now I'm going to select the entire design and ask the software to check it. Now the software returns a command here, an information here which says no double lines and no gaps found, which means that the design is actually in good shape. If it wasn't in good shape, then it would be a matter of it would actually spot and give us where the mistakes might be. Sometimes it can be a line which is not assembled, so it would be a matter of using Illustrator to actually assemble it. Obviously, this is a very simple design, and if you have some other design and some of your other files were a little bit more complicated, so I've had to do a bit more work to do that. I've used this one quite quickly because it was rather simple to actually use. So what I will do now is I will actually select the entire design and fold it in order to try it. So I need to choose a base design. So for the sake of this exercise, I'm going to choose this and I'm going to click continue. I'm going to choose the type of carton that I would like to use. You can change this later, but for the sake of this exercise here, I'm going to use a C flute or a B flute. Let's use a B flute and continue. And now I can select my crease lines here. I know I have two. And then I will simply fold both my crease lines to 90 degrees. Once I have done this, my panel is created into 3D. And I can save it as an ARD file, which is the same extension as a Arches CAD file. I will save it here on my desktop for now, and I will call it header for the sake of the exercise. Save. Place this ARD file in the document. Yes. So what it means is that this document now has got an ARD file which is attached. So if I call my window, which is here, ESKO, and then Studio Designer, Show Studio, you can also use that shortcut, which is, I never know, Alt Command and 4. You can Show Studio and instantly a window appears and shows you your header. Okay. For comfort, I will change my background here so that you get to see it better. Okay, and now we can actually see the header from the panel. Okay, so if I was to, for example, put some graphics onto my box here, what kind of graphics can I put? I could, for example, use that mountainy desert background. I will just simply make a screenshot on my computer, and as you can see here, if I put some graphics onto that panel, instantly the graphics will be reflected on my 3D. Okay, this is not the purpose here. What we would like to do is to brand it with Karcher designs, so that's what I'm going to do now. Okay, so I have saved my ARD file, which means that I can now reuse it onto another environment. So I actually do not need this file anymore because I have actually cleaned it and saved it as an ARD. So I will actually close it now and I will not save it. Okay, so now I can focus on the graphic design here. So what I would like to do is to isolate all of these elements which will actually come in the way of the graphic design. So I want to keep just the graphics but remove all of these informations. Unfortunately, the agency has provided something which is not layered greatly, let's say. It's probably been done either with Illustrator and or with InDesign and done into a weird way on the way that the layers have been separated. And also it's been provided to me as a PDF. So basically all of those information have been mashed up. So what I would like to do is to try to find those things, clean up the file, and then I will import the ARD file into it in order to be able to fold it. So you'll have to bear with me while I do this. Right, so the file looks clean enough for me. I have removed all of my grids, but I still have all the graphics which have not been touched, so I will be able to use this for now. So what I would like to do here is to call the studio window again. So you remember, if I go here and I do show studio, or as I said, I can use the command Alt Command 4, and it will appear automatically. And what the window asks me is if I want to place a structural design file. So if I click here and then I choose the ARD file that I created earlier, header, and I click open, basically this file will be automatically imported within my window. Okay. At the moment, it is not placed in the right location because I have not actually given it the information as to where to place the design. So I'm going to do this. If you just allow me to reduce the size of my window here. Oops, sorry, I will do it here so it doesn't get in the way. As you can see, there is a miss registration between my structural design and the graphics. The graphics are here, but my structural design here is misplaced onto it. So I will actually place the graphics directly on my structural design now. There's a useful little tool which says move structural design, which allows me to take it and move the entire structural design file in one go, which I will try to do right now. Yep, actually it should be like this. Right, this looks to my taste. And so now if we actually refresh that window, we should be able to see the design in place. Okay, so now we can actually appreciate the whole design in 3D and see the header panel. If I'm still on the designer quality, which for point of sale units might just be enough, but if you want to increase the quality of the renders that you're creating, you can actually go into visualizer quality. You remember, because I have created I have used a corrugated board. So basically, I have the print which is going directly onto a brown corrugated board, hence why the graphics appear washed out there. So I can either change the substrate in order to create a white lamination before I actually apply my print, which is what a lot of companies do, or I could print a white base before doing this. And to do so, I need to go into my finishing operation. So typically here, what I'll do, I will, for the sake of the exercise, change, sorry, the window is here. I will change the substrate of my material, and I will use a matte coated paper, white, and when I update, my file will appear white. Okay, so this just gives you the ability to do those kind of things. You could also have applied directly a lamination on top of the a white laminate on top of the corrugated board. Okay, so basically this is fine. And now what it means is I have created a structural, I have attached a structural element to this graphic design. So what I can do now is I can actually save my graphic file, which I have now created, and which has the structural design file. I can save this as, and then I will call it header design. I will save it on my desktop for the sake of the exercise. And I will save it as a PDF because it's okay. And I will repeat this operation for all of the elements which are composing my point of sale. So here we could see that I have created the header panel. I have created the side panels, which were both the same. So I've basically created both. And I have created the skirt. And I have created as well the little box, which I'm not going to be using in the example, but at least it gives you an idea. Here we can actually see them, the books PDF, the header panel, the side panel for the back, the side panel for the front, because I actually mapped the graphic twice, once at the front, once at the back. Could be done on the same file. And then the skirt. Okay. So once we have created all of these all of these actually structural um files and the artworks that go with it, then the next thing that we need to do is to actually create the assembly. You can see here I have POS assembly.zae. This is what I will show you in the next section. Hi, welcome back. In this second part, what I want to show you is how to create this assembly of the point of sale unit using this time the standalone little application called Studio Toolkit. This is part of the Studio bundle, so you can actually download it and have it on your desktop. But it's not a plugin to Illustrator, so you have to open that little file, and basically you will be able to create some simple multi-component assemblies. It's much easier if you use ArtistCAD to do those kind of results, but it is possible for some of the point of sale units, especially this one or the ones that you have shared with us. And so this is what I would like to show you today. You can also create other things with Studio, which I will not cover today, such as bags, adding labels onto components, packaging labels, bottles and things like this, or add shrink sleeves and those kind of things. It's not the purpose here, but it's interesting to know that this is within this little application that you get to do those things. So what I will do here, this is the assembly. What I will do here, I will actually close that. And then if you remember, we had saved various different components. So I have my box.ard, which we will not use. We will just use the header, the side panels, the skirt, and then I went onto the web and I found myself a palette online. So we will actually use that palette as well as the base for our point of sale assembly. So let's do this. I will open Studio Toolkit. Sorry, the window opens in my second screen. Here is Studio, and I will directly import here one of these elements. So first I said that I would use my palette. There you go. So my palette is now imported. And then I will carry on importing different elements within my design. So I will import that skirt. As you can see, I have one side of the skirt here. Now this is, I need to use the transform tools, as you can see here, oops. And I will be able to drag, rotate, scale up various different elements, basically based on to what I need to do. I would say it is a useful tool because it comes part of the bundle, but it may not be the easiest tool to use. And so therefore, this is why we tend to recommend to use ArtistCAD to do assemblies. But it's very interesting to see that for those kind of assembles, you can actually do them within within Studio. Sorry. Which one do I want to use? I want to use this one for that. And I will rotate that skirt that way. If I hold the shift key, I'll be able to actually use the snap function, which can be useful if you want an item to stay in position or to use some 90-degree angles. So let's see this. Oops, so I have actually put it upside down, did I? put it upside down. Yes, so I will rotate it again. This time 180 degrees, sorry, and I will actually move it back to where it is meant to be. Yes, this is better. Right, there you go. So we have one of the skirts in position. I will now import a second one. So because it's the skirt and it's the same component, I can actually import it twice. This time I should be a bit faster because I'm starting to know the design. I will rotate it that way. I will then move it to where I want it to be, like this, and I will put it there. So now I have both my skirts on the sides of my of my palette. Now I will import the side panels. Import again. I will be able to rotate these, put them in the right position. Where is my other handle? It's here. Whoop. Sorry, that reflection that you see here in the on the floor can actually be a little bit annoying. I believe that you can remove it from somewhere here. I just don't know where exactly, but it must be somewhere. Anyway, it's not going to bother me too much. So I will move this. I will rotate it again so that it's in the right position, and then I will bring it here where it's meant to be. If you want to be very accurate, what you need to do in theory is to align those little holes, I'll pull it a little bit, within their correct location. Again, these are things that are extremely simple to do with ArtistCAD and a little bit more cumbersome if you're using this little application. But then again, it's just interesting to know that you can do it should you wish to. Okay, so I will pretend that I am happy with this, and I might actually just decide to show me the front view. Just decide to select that component, move it just like here. I will remove the snap to allow me a little bit more freedom of movement. Yes. And now we'll say that I am now happy with what I have done. I will now import the second panel, my other side panel, which is here. I can rotate it again. I'll go back into my perspective view to give me more insights into what I'm doing. Yeah. And then again, like I did in the previous time, I will actually come in front view in order to adjust the position of my design and make it exactly where I want it to be. Here, that seems to be correct. I will go with a right view to help me align both my panels exactly like this. There you go. And then I am happy with that. So now I have the perspective, these things, and the only thing that I need to do is to slot my header panel within the 2 slots of those side panels which I have here. So I will import the header panel, which is here, import, it is there, and then again I will adjust it so that I can actually slot it at the top. Oops. There you go. And I now have my point of sale unit created in 3D. Now all I have to do is to actually save this file as a save as, and I will save it as a assembly.zae. ZAE is actually a collider file, so you'll be able to import it into many different applications, but here I will import it within Studio plugin for Illustrator, and I will save this file. And so I will show you this in the part 3 of this little tutorial. See you later. So as we have seen in the previous sections, in the previous part, sorry, of the video, we have prepared our graphic design files and we have attached structural information to them in order to be able to bend them. Then in the second part, we have created an assembly. And what we'll do now is we will actually populate the assembly with all the graphic files that we have previously created. So I don't know if you remember, but we had created this header design at the beginning of the video. We will call the studio window in order to be able to find the 3D of that particular element. And now simply what we are going to do is to go into that scene here, and we are going to load a new scene. And that scene will be the scene that we have created in the previous section, which is the assembly. And as you can see, as soon as I open the assembly, then automatically the header graphics, because the file is open in the background here, is self-populated directly within my window. The texture of the palette is also recognized. And when I open the different side panels and the skirts for that unit, then the elements will also populate themselves within that assembly. So I will just show you how to do this now. I'll close the window for a second just in order to open the other file. Right, so now all my files are opened. And as I said earlier, I didn't show you these into the video, but if I call my structural design window, I had previously prepared those files in order to make the videos run smoothly. So if I show you each of these files, you will have to apologize to excuse me, but I created the side panels front and back. This is my personal preference. You could create them onto one single file and just apply the graphics on both sides. And the skirt, which is here. So now, if I actually look at the scene, which is assembly.zae, as you can see, all of the graphics are automatically updated. Now it's funny, I can see that I have made a mistake earlier into when I imported the skirts. As you can see here, the graphics have been imported. The graphics are actually imported right, but I have assembled my point of sale wrong by turning the skirtings upside down. So basically what I would need to do is to go back to my assembly and correct this. So I will actually do it now. I will open my assembly, which was this one. And I could rotate those. What I will do, because I have seen this, is I had previously saved that assembly. So what I will simply do is load another scene, which is called POS assembly here, which is a scene I had previously created, where, as you can see, my elements are actually properly positioned onto this one. Okay, so this is how I created my point of sale. And now I can actually rotate it, zoom in it, unzoom, sorry, or zoom, okay, and have all of the informations that I need. I can display the visualizer quality or the designer quality. It's up to me, you know, in order to be able, for example, to add various different print techniques and things like this. As I explained in the previous video, depending on the print specifications and the finishing operations that you will choose, as well as the different material that you will choose, you will have all of the different options that you will be able to use. For the sake of the exercise, we'll remain in designer quality because for point of sale, we don't need to have very elaborate print finishes, so we don't need to worry about this in this particular video. What I can do now is I can actually export some deliverables. For example, here I can export an image with a resolution, let's say, of 150 pixels. I can decide to have a transparent background, which would come very handy if you want to import within a PowerPoint presentation, for example, so that your colleagues in marketing don't have to crop the image and remove all of the white area, which is often coming with pack shots. And also it will retain that nice reflection or shadow effect that you can decide to have within your render. So I will save that image because I'm happy with it. And I will go render Karcher 1. I will save it on my desktop for the sake of the exercise. And after a couple of seconds, the render will be created. It is here. And there you go, the renderer has been created. Okay, so now obviously if I wanted to create another angle, I could simply create another angle of that image, which I will do right now. I will call it the same to keep some consistency with my naming. I said render Karcher 2, and I will save it on the desktop again as my second image. And here's my second image within my second angle. As you can see, it's very simple to create those. I have a lot of other options in which I can export. I could export an image sequence, for example, of a spin or a wiggle or a transition between two different steps of my visual. This is very useful, for example, if you want to, you'll be able to basically export an image sequence, which by opening into Photoshop, you can then make a movie out of it in order to do whatever you want with it. For example, to have a 360 rotation. Collider file will allow you to basically share it with a lot of 3D applications. For example, if you wanted to import it within our store visualizer application, which I will show you as an extra into the fourth part of this video. So I will actually save that Collider file purely for example purposes. Render Karcher. This would take a few seconds to export. That's it. The file has been exported and it's on my desktop. You can't see it here, but basically it is there. Or I can also export a keyshot file, because mainly when it comes to packaging and to rendering of glass of transparent object, we have that partnership with Keyshot, which allows us to take the full benefit of their transparency rendering engine, which is extremely powerful. You can export a 3D PDF, which can be extremely useful as well, or a U3D file. If you have Web Center, you have the ability to actually save that design onto Web Center and to export. Obviously, all of our applications are communicating amongst themselves. Okay. So I hope this tutorial was clear and concise. And if you have any questions, do not hesitate to contact me. Thank you. Welcome back for the final part of this video, which I wanted to show you. And this part will be about importing the point of sale display that we have just created within our software called Store Visualizer. Basically, what this software allows you to do is to import all of your objects, point of sale, products, and things like this, and import them within a store environment in order to be able to simulate them into their real habitat. So to be able to see the product in context. So what I will do here is I will open a pre-existing store that I have prepared for the occasion. It takes a few seconds. And basically, as you can see, this is an empty shell, okay, of a store. And then within this empty shell, I have actually preloaded some elements, for example, some point of sale units, some basketballs, because why not? Some oil bottles, and then some various different objects that we can see here. What we can do first, just for the sake of the exercise, is to activate the physics within the software. And if I activate the physics, as you can see, the product and the physics will be activated within the scene and the products will be able to free flow. Okay. And then I will actually move this ball away. We will be able to, for example, roam within that room and get a closer look at these various objects. As you can see here, for example, when I'm moving that bottle, I get even the movement of the liquid within the bottle. I can manipulate the objects, okay? And if my physics again is activated, the reason why I don't keep it activated is because I run on a small laptop, so I'd rather not use too much of my memory. But basically, when the physics is activated, the products are actually interacting with each other, okay? For the sake of the exercise and just in order to not kill the memory of my machine, I will remove the physics for the time being. So what we'll do now is I will actually upload one of your point of sale units onto this environment. So we will actually go into Tools, select this library, and then import the point of sale, the render that we have created earlier, which was render karcher.zae. If you remember, we saved that collider file using Studio in Illustrator. I will open it, import. It will take a few seconds to actually process. And then once it's done, I actually have the point of sale unit which appears within that window, and I can simply import it within my environment. So I'm now able to go and roam and view my product within the store environment. I will be able eventually to put products onto it, just like I have done onto the shelves. For example, let me choose a vase, not a vase, some bottles, no. Let's choose the Speed ZAE, and then you can see that I will be able to put products onto the shelves, and then just the same way, I will be able to actually create an array of these products and then put them onto the shelf here. Let's try to actually put them onto your point of sale display. Oops, apologize for my mouse moving too much. So I will be able to simply put these objects onto the palette. And there you go. I think I could put even more objects on top of the other ones. And let's imagine if you had your own products into there, we would be able to then put your products. You could, for example, I went online here onto a website called TurboSquid, and then I was able to just run a quick search for Karcher. Then, as you can see, for $35, you can buy a model of your own product in order to import it within such application, for example. Okay. So this is it for me. Something I forgot to mention is that if you have a VR, a virtual reality headset, then you'll be able to actually appreciate all of these designs within virtual reality and do some actual virtual store tour, which again might be extremely useful coupled to our eye tracking technology in order to help you design, help you make better choices for your designs, compare them with their competition within a store environment, get analytics from the research that you can do, and all sorts of great tools that we enable for merchandisers. So there you go. This was just the latest bonus feature that I wanted to show you in order to display the point of sale within their store environment. I hope you enjoyed those little videos, and if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact me. Thank you very much. Bye bye.